To vibrate high is not to escape reality, but to finally meet it without distortion. Most people believe alignment happens outside them, through luck, timing, or other people's choices. But reality is not persuaded by words or wishes. It responds to inner coherence. When the inner world stops contradicting itself, the outer world has no choice but to reorganize. Low vibration is not sadness or pain. It is inner division, wanting one thing, fearing it at the same time. Pretending to be someone while secretly despising that mask. The psyche cannot move forward when it is split. Energy leaks through denial. Power returns through integration. The moment you stop rejecting parts of yourself, your vibration rises. Not because you become positive, but because you become whole. The shadow you avoid drains more energy than the pain you face. When you look directly at what you fear, repress, or judge within yourself, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system relaxes. You are no longer at war with your own nature. Reality aligns with those who are internally aligned. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions point in the same direction, your presence becomes decisive. People feel clarity around you. Opportunities recognize you. Resistance dissolves because there is nothing conflicting inside you to project outward. High vibration is not excitement. It is grounded intensity. It is the calm certainty of someone who knows who they are and does not negotiate with self-betrayal. Such a person does not chase outcomes. They attract resonance. Life mirrors them because life always mirrors the dominant inner state. Instant alignment happens when you stop asking, "How do I get?" and start asking, "What am I embodying?" The unconscious obeys embodiment, not intention. If you embody worth, reality responds with value. If you embody indecision, reality offers confusion. The world is a psychological feedback system. Silence raises vibration more than affirmation. Truth raises vibration more than hope. Responsibility raises vibration more than manifestation techniques. The psyche rewards honesty with energy. The moment you stop lying to yourself about what you want, what you tolerate, and who you are becoming, momentum appears without effort. When you live in agreement with your inner law, reality does not resist you, it collaborates. Not because the universe is magical, but because you are no longer fragmented. And a whole psyche is a force nature recognizes immediately. Inner alignment begins where self-deception ends. Most people live divided lives without realizing it. One part of them desires growth, clarity, and expansion, while another part clings to safety, familiarity, and old identities. This internal contradiction consumes enormous energy. When the psyche is split, every action carries resistance within it. You move forward while unconsciously pulling yourself backward. Alignment is the moment this tug-of-war stops. Inner conflict is not always loud. Often it hides behind rationalization, procrastination, and constant distraction. You tell yourself you want change, but your habits protect the past. You say you value truth, but avoid conversations that would demand it. Each small betrayal fractures inner coherence. The psyche keeps score, and the cost is vitality. Anxiety, confusion, and exhaustion are not random states. They are signals of misalignment. When inner alignment begins, energy that was trapped in conflict is released. This release does not feel euphoric at first. It feels sobering. You start seeing clearly where you have been lying to yourself. Clarity can feel uncomfortable because it removes excuses, but clarity also restores authority over your own life. You no longer negotiate with what you already know to be true. Alignment requires choosing one inner direction and standing by it. This does not mean certainty about outcomes, but certainty about values. When your values are clear, decisions simplify. The mind stops spinning in endless options because it now has a center. This center becomes an organizing force. Thoughts align around it. Emotions stabilize around it. Actions follow it naturally. Inner conflict thrives on avoidance. Alignment thrives on confrontation, not confrontation with others, but with your own inconsistencies. When you acknowledge that part of you wants comfort more than growth, you stop pretending otherwise. When you admit that fear influences your choices, fear loses its covert power. What is named becomes manageable. What is denied becomes tyrannical. Energy returns the moment you stop fragmenting yourself. Imagine a lens that is cracked into multiple pieces. Light passes through, but scattered and weak. When those pieces are brought back into one lens, the same light becomes focused and intense. You have not gained more energy. You have stopped wasting it. Inner alignment is the act of gathering yourself back from all the places where you abandoned your truth. This process often feels like simplification. You stop overthinking because your inner signals are no longer contradictory. The body relaxes because it no longer receives mixed messages. Stress reduces not because life becomes easier, but because resistance decreases. You are no longer fighting yourself before fighting the world. Inner alignment also changes how reality responds to you. People sense coherence instinctively. They trust it even if they cannot explain why. A person who is internally aligned speaks with fewer words but greater impact. Their presence carries weight. They are not trying to convince because they are not divided inside. The end of inner conflict does not mean the end of challenge. It means challenges are met with full force instead of diluted effort. Pain is no longer multiplied by hesitation. Failure is no longer personalized as identity. Success is no longer feared. You can move through experiences without losing yourself because you are no longer fragmented. Many mistake alignment for perfection. In reality, alignment allows imperfection without collapse. You can make mistakes and still remain whole. You can feel doubt without being paralyzed by it. The difference is that doubt no longer controls direction. It becomes information rather than obstruction. As inner conflict dissolves, your actions become cleaner. You stop over-explaining, over-promising, and overcompensating. You do less, but what you do carries more force. Time feels different because your attention is no longer scattered. You are present in what you choose instead of mentally elsewhere. Inner alignment is sustained through continuous honesty, not brutal self-judgment, but accurate self-observation. You notice when you drift. You correct without drama. This discipline builds trust with yourself. Self-trust is one of the highest forms of energy because it removes internal surveillance. You are no longer watching yourself with suspicion. When inner alignment stabilizes, life begins to feel responsive rather than hostile. Obstacles appear clearer. Decisions feel cleaner. You are no longer exhausted by being someone you are not. Power does not come from forcing reality to change, but from no longer resisting who you are becoming. Integrating the shadow begins with the recognition that what you avoid does not disappear. It waits. Every trait you deny, every impulse you judge as unacceptable, every emotion you label as weakness is not erased from the psyche. It is pushed into the unconscious, where it continues to influence behavior without accountability. Energy drains not because these aspects exist, but because they are exiled. The shadow is not evil. It is simply unclaimed life. It contains anger that was never allowed expression, confidence that was once punished, desire that conflicted with approval, and instincts that did not fit the image you learned to survive with. When these elements are suppressed, they do not lose power. They gain autonomy. They emerge indirectly as anxiety, resentment, passive aggression, or self-sabotage. Raising energy naturally is not about adding positivity, but reclaiming wholeness. The psyche was never designed to function in fragments. When parts of you are disowned, the system compensates by expending energy to keep them hidden. This constant internal policing is exhausting. Integration removes the need for repression, and the energy once used for control becomes available for creation. Shadow integration requires courage because it confronts identity. You are forced to see that the self-image you protected was incomplete. The moment you admit this, the illusion of moral superiority collapses, but something more solid replaces it. Humility brings stability. You no longer need to perform goodness when you understand your full capacity for both light and darkness. The shadow often appears first through emotional reactions. What irritates you in others is frequently what you refuse to acknowledge in yourself. Strong reactions are signals, not flaws. They indicate areas where energy is trapped. When you investigate these reactions honestly, you uncover denied traits seeking recognition. Integration does not mean acting out every impulse. It means understanding them. When you can say, "This anger exists in me," it no longer needs to erupt uncontrollably. Awareness transforms compulsion into choice. The moment choice returns, energy stabilizes. The psyche relaxes when it no longer has to protect you from yourself. Many people fear that accepting the shadow will make them worse. In reality, denial is what makes it dangerous. A conscious shadow is disciplined. An unconscious shadow is destructive. Integration is not indulgence. It is responsibility. You take ownership of your capacity for harm, so it does not operate behind your back. As shadow material is integrated, vitality increases. You feel more solid, less brittle. You are harder to manipulate because you are no longer hiding from your own nature. Shame loses its leverage. When there is nothing you must conceal, external judgment loses power over you. Energy rises because resistance falls. Every suppressed emotion creates friction in the nervous system. Integration allows emotions to move through rather than stagnate. This movement restores flow. You feel more present, more grounded, more capable of sustained focus. Creativity increases because the unconscious is no longer blocked by censorship. Shadow integration also deepens compassion. When you accept your own darkness, you stop projecting it onto the world. Others become less threatening. Conflict loses its personal charge. You can confront without hatred and set boundaries without guilt. This emotional economy conserves energy rather than wasting it on chronic defense. The integrated person carries intensity without volatility. There is strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, softness without collapse. These qualities arise naturally when the psyche is no longer divided against itself. High energy is not nervous stimulation, but contained power. Daily life becomes less reactive. You notice impulses without being possessed by them. You observe emotions without drowning in them. This inner space is not emptiness, but capacity. It allows you to respond with precision instead of compulsion. Precision is an energy-efficient state. The shadow also contains lost potential. Talents buried under fear of judgment, leadership suppressed to avoid visibility, ambition denied to maintain belonging. When these aspects are reintegrated, life force expands. You feel more alive not because life changes, but because you reclaim what was always yours. Integration is a continuous process. New layers emerge as consciousness expands. Each layer integrated restores more energy. There is no final state, only increasing wholeness. The psyche rewards this work immediately with clarity, resilience, and inner solidity. When the shadow is integrated, you no longer need to appear high energy. You simply are. Your presence becomes calm but potent. Others sense depth rather than performance. Reality responds differently because you are no longer leaking power through denial. You stand fully inside yourself, and that completeness generates its own gravity. Reality does not respond to what you think you want. It responds to what you consistently embody. Intention belongs to the surface of the mind, but embodiment lives deeper in posture, tone, rhythm, and choice. The unconscious does not understand future promises. It understands present states. What you live as true becomes the instruction reality follows. Many people confuse visualization with embodiment. They imagine outcomes while remaining emotionally and behaviorally aligned with lack. The psyche cannot be persuaded by fantasy alone. If your body carries tension, your habits express avoidance, and your speech reveals doubt, no amount of intention alters the signal you are transmitting. Reality reads coherence, not desire. Embodiment is revealed in what you tolerate. What you allow repeatedly becomes a declaration of identity. If you embody worth, you do not remain in environments that drain you. If you embody clarity, you do not prolong confusion. These choices are not dramatic, they are consistent. Over time, consistency outweighs intensity. The unconscious governs patterns, not wishes. It organizes experience according to what feels familiar, not what sounds inspiring. This is why people return to the same relationships, obstacles, and outcomes. Familiarity feels safe, even when it is painful. Embodiment changes familiarity. When you repeatedly act from a new internal position, the psyche updates its map of what is normal. Reality mirrors dominant inner posture. If you move through life bracing for rejection, you elicit distance. If you carry unspoken resentment, you encounter resistance. These are not punishments, but reflections. The world answers the question you're being asked repeatedly. Change the question, and the answer changes. Embodiment requires congruence between inner state and outer behavior. Speaking confidence while acting cautiously creates interference. Thinking abundance while hoarding creates contradiction. The psyche resolves contradiction by favoring behavior over belief. What you do teaches the unconscious what you actually believe. Small actions carry enormous weight because they are repeated signals. How you wake up, how you speak to yourself, how you handle discomfort all communicate identity. Reality organizes around these signals. It brings situations that match your demonstrated capacity, not your stated ambition. Instant alignment is often misunderstood. It does not mean immediate reward. It means immediate feedback. The moment embodiment shifts, the quality of interactions changes. Conversations feel different. Obstacles rearrange, timing improves. These are subtle but precise responses to a new signal. Embodiment also governs boundaries. When you embody self-respect, you do not need to announce it. Others sense it and adjust. When you embody indecision, others decide for you. The world fills the vacuum you leave. Reality abhors ambiguity. It responds decisively to clear embodiment. The body plays a central role. Posture, breath, and movement encode belief. A collapsed body cannot embody authority, no matter the thought. When the body changes, the psyche follows. This is why embodiment cannot remain theoretical. It must be lived physically. Emotional embodiment matters more than intellectual understanding. You may understand confidence, but if you embody anxiety, reality responds to anxiety. Emotions are energetic instructions. They signal expectation. Chronic emotional states become environmental architects. Embodiment also shapes perception. When you embody possibility, you notice opportunity. When you embody threat, you notice danger. The same reality presents itself, but different aspects become visible. What you see determines what you move toward, and movement reinforces embodiment. Many attempt to control reality through force. Control reveals mistrust. Embodiment reveals alignment. When you embody certainty, you do not chase confirmation. You move as though the path will meet you because internally, it already has. This internal certainty alters timing and flow. The unconscious rewards embodiment with momentum. Decisions feel easier because they align with identity. Energy increases because friction decreases. You are no longer acting against yourself. Action becomes expression rather than effort. Reality is not separate from you, it is interactive. It responds moment by moment to who you are being. When embodiment stabilizes, life reflects stability. When embodiment shifts, reality rearranges to match it. The most powerful changes occur when embodiment becomes unconscious. You no longer try to be something. You are it. Effort disappears, struggle dissolves. Reality aligns not because you demanded it, but because you finally spoke its language fluently. Wholeness is not a state of perfection, but a state of inner agreement. When the psyche is whole, its parts are no longer competing for control. Desire, fear, reason, and instinct move in the same direction. This coherence creates a pressure that reality responds to. Fragmented intention produces scattered results. Unified intention produces momentum. Most resistance in life does not come from the outside. It is generated internally through contradiction. One part of you moves forward while another part applies the brakes. This creates delay, confusion, and exhaustion. When wholeness emerges, this internal resistance dissolves. Energy that was previously used to maintain conflict becomes available for action. External alignment is a consequence, not a goal. When inner parts agree, behavior becomes consistent. Consistency builds trust with the world. People, systems, and opportunities respond to predictability and clarity. They move toward what feels stable. Wholeness creates stability because it removes hidden agendas within the self. A whole person does not waste energy on self-surveillance. They are not constantly checking whether they are being authentic because authenticity has become automatic. This frees attention. Attention, when undivided, becomes a powerful organizing force. Reality arranges itself around sustained attention. Wholeness also sharpens intuition. When the psyche is fragmented, intuition is drowned out by noise. When inner conflict quiets, signals become clear. Decisions feel timely rather than forced. You act when the moment is ripe because you can sense it accurately. External alignment often appears sudden because internal work is invisible. From the outside, it looks like luck or coincidence. From the inside, it feels inevitable. When inner agreement stabilizes, events no longer feel random. They feel sequential. One thing leads naturally to another. Wholeness changes how obstacles are perceived. Challenges are no longer interpreted as rejection, but as information. This shift conserves energy. Emotional reactions no longer derail momentum. You adapt without losing direction because direction is anchored internally. A fragmented person seeks validation. A whole person generates it. This does not come from arrogance but from self-trust. When you trust yourself, you stop outsourcing authority. Reality responds to those who claim responsibility for their own lives. Wholeness simplifies identity. You are no longer performing different versions of yourself for different situations. This simplicity creates power. Others experience you as consistent and reliable. This reliability invites alignment because systems favor coherence. Instant external alignment is not mystical, it is mechanical. Remove internal contradiction and external friction decreases. Life flows where resistance is lowest. Wholeness reduces resistance because you are no longer opposing yourself. This state does not remove uncertainty. It removes paralysis. You can move forward without guarantees because your foundation is internal. When outcomes are uncertain but identity is stable, action becomes possible. Wholeness also deepens presence. You are where you are, not half in the past, half in imagined futures. Presence intensifies impact. What you do now carries weight because you are fully there. External alignment continues as long as wholeness is maintained. When inner division returns, friction returns. This creates immediate feedback. Life signals when coherence has been lost. Those signals are invitations to reintegrate, not punishments. A whole psyche does not demand that reality comply. It meets reality as an equal. This equality removes desperation. Desperation repels alignment. Grounded certainty invites it. When wholeness becomes the dominant state, life stops feeling adversarial. Not because it becomes easy, but because you are no longer divided. A unified inner world produces a unified outer response. Reality does not resist coherence. It organizes around it.